G'day viewers, my name's Graham Stevenson and I'd like to invite you to come on a journey of creativity and learning and adventure through the series Colour in Your Life. There's an artist in every family throughout the world, and lots of times there's an artist deep down inside all of us as well. So grab your kids, your brothers, your sisters, your aunties, uncles and mums and dads and come and see how some of the best artists in Australia do what they do.
Hello, Kath.
Hi, Graham. How are you?
Good to see you. Can I come in and have a look at what you're doing?
Sure can.
Great stuff. Let's go in. G'day, viewers. Graham Stevenson here again. And I'm at the home of Kath Castle today, and Kath is an extraordinarily talented wildlife artist that paints animals, mostly birds.
Mostly birds, yes.
In all forms of different mediums, acrylics, watercolours, oils.
Yes.
And she's won numerous awards. Kath's work is really, really amazing. Very detailed. She's a realist artist, but does some great stuff. You're also working with a company called
Maxwell and Williams.
Maxwell and Williams, and they actually produce her stuff on a licence basis on a number of cups and plates, isn't it?
Cups, plates, placemats, coasters, things like that.
Yeah, and it's a great way for the rest of the world to see what you do as well. Kath is going to be painting an azure kingfisher for us today, and you're doing it in...
I'm going to do acrylics today.
Okay, that sounds great. We're going to sit down and spend the day with her and watch what she does. So the azure kingfisher, whereabouts are they?
Mainly in eastern Australia, and mainly find them along riverbanks, and they burrow in their nest in the side of the river.
Yeah, they're beautiful little birds, but aren't they?
Yes.
They're just quite spectacular. But we're going to sit down with her today and go through the whole process of how she puts one of her wildlife pieces together. So come along for the ride. It's going to be great. Well, Kath, I can see that you've got a photograph there of the kingfisher.
Yes.
Now, obviously you really do need, great reference material when you do these. Do you get a lot of your stuff out of books or off the net? Do you take your own photos at all?
I take a lot of my own photos. You need to know your subject as well. You have to actually see it in real life to actually know its behaviour and just to get a good idea of what it's really supposed to look like.
And I've always noticed with photographs that a lot of artists, when they paint, and I've actually seen this a number of times, you may have as well, is that when people paint off photographs, they use the darks go very dark.
Yeah, they do, yes.
And they forget that there's other spectral values involved in creating the form on canvas or board in comparison to, say, taking your photo. So that's an art itself in interpreting it.
Yes, it's just good to get out in the rainforest or the bush, go to nature parks, just so you can see what it really looks like in real life.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, when you sketch the picture on, a lot of people do use graphs, which is okay. I mean, there's not a problem with that. Other people use projectors.
Some people use those art projectors. There's all new ones that you can just put a USB in now and project it onto your board. I normally just sketch it on paper first and then transfer it with tracing paper to my board because the drawing is one of the most important parts of the painting.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And obviously the board that you've got here, what type of board is that you actually got it on?
It's just a board with gesso on it. It's very smooth surface.
Yeah, let me pick it up. It looks like it's on, is it on masonite there?
Yeah,
it's
one that you get from the art shops. But
so who actually makes that?
I think it's Ampersand.
Okay, Ampersand makes that.
Yeah.
But it's actually got a really nice, it's very similar to a thing called vellum.
Yes.
But it's got a beautiful surface on it, and you're going to be using acrylics on this today.
Yes, I like the smooth surface so they can put plenty of detail in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Obviously, once you've sketched it out, do you spray that? Some artists do, some artists don't. Do you spray your board at all?
I've given a quick spray of fixative.
Okay,
yes.
and it just sort of stops because sometimes, particularly when you've got your lighter colours, if you're painting fine detail, you'll find that the line will actually, the grey will be absorbed into the white, and if you don't want that, obviously it's going to be a bit of a hassle for you. Sprayed it, ready to go?
Ready to go.
Let's see what you can do with it then.
Well, today I'm just going to use a very, very basic palette,
yeah,
just to keep things simple. So I mainly use a red, a yellow and a ultramarine.
So you're pretty well just using the primaries?
Mostly primaries and a few others, like for the blacks I'll use a green and a red rather than use a tube black.
Sure.
Just to keep things simple.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
What type of brushes are you going to use on putting this together?
They're mainly soft brushes. The big flat ones, they're for the backgrounds. Yeah, not too small. I think the smallest is a number 1.
Oh,
so.
it's still pretty small, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you've got on a swivelling board there as well.
Yes.
To adjust your height, and then you've also turned the picture even before we've started.
I have, haven't I?
Yeah, you've turned the picture. But obviously, what's the explanation for that?
I just move it around a bit.
Yeah.
It's not really.
Well, I mean,
yeah.
you're obviously allowed to. I mean, it's a great way when you can actually turn the board all the way around
Yeah.
to be able to adjust, particularly when you're on your curves as well.
That's right. And this board's great because it flips, flat. Down. Yeah.
Up and down, do what you need.
It's great.
Sounds great. So, so what do we do now? Just mixing those primaries?
I'm actually going to start with get some of the tones in.
Okay.
So I'm going to do mix all the 3 colours together.
Yeah.
And just get all the shadows basically.
Okay.
Which you can do using something like Payne's Grey or something like that, but I just like to keep it simple and use.
Well, it's still. I mean,
Yeah.
those colours will give you a reasonably dark set of colours anyway, as
It
far as
will.
Payne's Grey is concerned. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see what you can do then.
Okay.
So straight away you can see, viewers, that colour is quite dark.
Yeah.
It's not something that you necessarily need to squeeze out of a tube to get a colour that's or a darker colour that's going to enable you to control a lot of your tints and tones as you go along. But you've obviously got your rag there to draw moisture out
Yeah, it's
fairly quickly if you want it to.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'm always wiping my brush on it just to get the right level of dampness on the brush.
Yeah. So in putting those darker details in, does that really helps you to understand that you're developing the character of your animal quickly?
Yes.
That you really can see something developing quite rapidly instead of, and some artists do it the other way around, but that really sort of brings the animal out quite quickly.
Yeah, I like in the eye. I like to preserve the white bit for the little flash of light, and it really makes a big difference.
Yeah.
So at this stage, you don't have to worry about keeping it really neat, not to the final few coats. It's just basically blocking in the tones.
So in your career, you've won a lot of awards from what I can see on your CV.
Yes.
You've really done quite well with the competition level as far as art is concerned. Mostly exhibitions for wildlife, or these are just general exhibitions that you've been
Just general normally. General exhibitions.
to? Sure.
Yeah.
Does the commitment with Maxwell and Williams take up a lot of your time now, or there is still time for you to do what you'd like to do?
No, it's mainly just in blocks of time. I only do what I like to do. Yeah.
Okay.
So just you might be rushed off for a month or so, and then nothing for 6 months.
Sure. Do you get out a lot with the? You've got 2 beautiful children, a boy and a girl. Do you often get out with them into the wild to take photos of the animals at all? I know that the kids are very much into art themselves.
They are, yes, but we seem to go. We go a lot. In this area, there's a lot of places to go to.
Mm-hmm.
This weekend, I got a trip planned to Minion Falls.
Yes.
Down the bottom, which is I think it's about an 8k walk. So
Yeah.
plenty of opportunities for photos and getting some more reference material.
That'd be beautiful. It's the only way to do it, and Australia is such a magnificent country.
Yes.
We've got such a diverse range of animals, beautiful animals as well. But you can actually see, viewers, really how that's quite quickly, just by putting those tonal factors in, was just with that one brush, that this picture's really starting to spring to life very rapidly. But then again, you can see that there's a master's hand involved as well. It's one thing looking at somebody else do it, but then it's another thing that to develop a skill and a technique over many, many years, so that your hand-eye coordination knows exactly where that's supposed to go as well.
Yes.
So that particular type of board, it looks like it really grabs the paint extremely well. It looks like it's fairly kind to the brush as well.
It is. It's a beautiful surface to paint on. It just the brush just glides along, and yeah, the paint sticks really well.
And do you? In saying that you had gesso, but do you actually gesso this yourself again, or it's just really straight out of the packet?
I actually did give it another coat, but
did?
Yeah, for this one.
Because I find that when I paint myself, it's generally 3 or 4 layers of gesso I'll put on, because it just sort of tends to give this wonderful plaster effect, and the paint just literally gets grabbed off the brush.
Yeah, when I use a canvas, I'll probably put 10 coats on,
There you go.
and then sand between each coat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the smooth surface.
you can see in your work, because it would be very difficult to get the detail that you get with the canvas itself, with the pattern in the canvas. It really tends to sort of poke out. I mean, there's a lot of artists that enjoy that, of course.
Yes.
But with fine detail work, it's a great idea to gesso as much as you can anyway.
That's right, you just can't get the detail without it.
Tell me a little bit more about your history. When did you start? I mean, did you go to college to do this? When did you start? Was it an early age? And what influenced you to start painting, particularly wildlife?
Well, I sort of grew up around art. My grandmother, who was very big on art, and as a child took me to a lot of galleries in Sydney, and we used to go on day trips and take me out my grandfather used to take me out in the bush and teach me photography, and my grandmother was always pointing out things to paint because she was a painter herself.
Wow.
But first I wanted to do photography, so I went to TAFE and I did an art certificate but majored in photography.
Yeah.
But part of that course was doing art and design and a bit of painting, and that sort of, I changed, by the end of it I'd changed.
Yeah.
So, and went from there. I worked in graphic design studios.
Yeah.
And then after I had kids I left work, and I've been painting ever since full time.
Yeah, it's just wonderful. And you know, and your work, I mean, you deserve all the accolades you get as well, because you're one of those women that's an artist that's absolutely dedicated to what you do, and you've really honed your craft into such an incredible place. I mean, the admiration that people give you because of it is very well deserved.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
All right, well, I think we're going to let Kath just work for a little while longer. She's still putting down that one tone, and she's got a little way to go yet, but we'll come back when she's ready to swap to some other colours, and we'll see how she expands on this whole beautiful little azure kingfisher.
Alright, I'm going to start with a bit of colour now. I'll normally start with the eye, the window to the soul, as you say.
Window to the soul.
Yes.
Beautiful saying, isn't it, viewers?
It sort of gives the eye is what makes it, and if the eye's wrong, the whole painting's wrong.
Yeah. And it's, I mean, watching you with this really limited palette, it's, you know, I know it's going to develop, the viewers are going to be watching it, of course, but it's just great to see all that control with so few colours.
It's just so, if you find when you're starting out painting, if you use a lot of paintings, that's where people get into trouble.
Yeah.
It just turns into mud.
Yep.
And at least everything will tie in, and
great way to control it, absolutely.
Yes.
But it is so important just to simply take your time. I think it can be a very zen moment, or, you know, a cathartic experience to do this. It's extraordinarily relaxing. I think that's a great thing for the viewers to understand, is that this is really a way that if things are going wrong in your life, just simply sitting down and doing what Kath is doing right now is a wonderful way to get in touch with yourself on many, many levels. And you're a very, very calm young woman. In the time I've known you, very, very calm. I don't think I've ever seen you angry.
Oh, don't ask my kids the same question, will you?
Look at that blue there.
It's beautiful blue, isn't it?
I just love that. Well, that's why they call them the azure kingfisher. But
yes,
that's just sensational. And it's the same, that's the ultramarine blue that was there.
Yes.
So it's the same blue that was there that you've just sort of really, really toned a bit differently for the darker areas.
Yes, and there's a bit of cerulean blue in there too, so
Yes.
I might add a bit of that later.
Okay.
Mainly ultramarine.
Yeah.
Okay, let's mix up some, what do you call that buff colour, isn't it?
Yes, it's sort of like it's like a raw sienna.
Yes.
It's very close to a raw sienna.
Except I'm going to use this.
Wonderful. Well, and that's a good point too, is that, as you said before, there's tons and tons of tubes of paint, and they buy everything under the sun. And the thing that you really need to do, particularly with what you're doing now, is just simply understand your colours.
That's right.
You know, learn to know what your colours are going to do.
Just sort of know your colour wheel, basically.
Yeah.
Not being too careful at the moment, not till the later stages, just doing it, just blocking the colours in.
Just to block it in, sure. I've noticed that you've got these, which are beautiful, they've got the lichens all over them.
Yes.
And they've got moss, and you can just see the whole character of the timber and the knots.
Oh, this bit
it's
here.
Just, Look at that with the moss.
That's I'm doing at the moment, but I'm just doing the darks, so I'm going to pick out the highlights later on.
Yeah, it's just wonderful, isn't it? But you know, obviously getting so close to your work that you really find out the anatomy of just about everything that's in there is just great. It looks wonderful. It really is. Just sort of strap it around the ear there. A little bit of moss just there like that. Great, isn't it? How much would a piece like this sell for once it was finished and framed?
Probably about 1,500.
Okay, it's a great price. I mean, considering that we're only going over the basic outline with Kath today, she'll go back and rework this picture for some days to come. But what about this magnificent piece on the wall here? The red-tailed black cockatoos, one of my favourite birds. What would a piece like that sell for, say, in the gallery?
In the gallery, probably about 5,000.
Okay, there you go. And it's there's weeks and weeks of work, and obviously with a master artist like Kath as well, you're not just buying a picture. You're buying the soul of the other human being, as far as I'm concerned. But in saying that, obviously there's a lot of people that may want your work out there, but can't afford that. You also do produce limited edition, hand embellished reproductions as well, don't you?
Yes.
Which is just another great way to obtain the work of this talented person. And what Kath does is, she'll obviously reproduce these, but takes a lot of time in actually bringing up the highlights of each individual print as it comes out. So none of them are the same. They're all completely different because of the fact that she's worked different areas within the print. So once again, it's just a great way to get some of Kath's work. Onto the feet.
Yes, the first time I ever painted birds, I did too many toes.
Oh, did you? If they're birds that hunt with their feet for water, a lot of those birds have got 2 toes forward and 2 toes back.
Yes.
But obviously the other ones that hunt on land have 3 toes forward and 1 toe back. It's an interesting little bit of trivia for everybody out there.
I'm just going to do some of the background now.
Okay.
Just block it in basically, so it's quite a thin wash.
Yeah.
And I'm just sort of crisscrossing.
Sort of cross-hatching all the way across.
So I'm still using the same 3 colours. It all tie in together then.
The brush that you're using at the moment has got a bit of a curve on it, hasn't it? Yeah,
yes.
an angle.
Yes.
That helps you to, particularly when you're doing that cross-hatching?
It just helps, and it helps when you're sort of going along the edges like that.
Sure.
Yeah.
And even, once again, just with the red and the blue there, you can see how dark that colour actually goes.
Yes, it
It's
does.
amazing, isn't it? This is really what good art's about. It's about being able to reinterpret potentially what's either in a photo or in nature, and enabling the viewer to see the animal in the way that it should be through the medium of paint.
That's right. And sometimes you need to tilt the head a bit more or
Mm-hmm.
move the feet at different angles, and that makes a huge difference to the personality of the bird.
Yes,
Makes it look more alive.
Oh, that's the cerulean.
Cerulean blue, yes.
Cerulean blue, okay.
So I'm only going to use that in the blue part there,
Okay.
nowhere else in the painting.
Okay.
Right, I'm just going to put some detail in up here now.
Looking at this piece, it really is sort of fairly iconic for really one of the licensing images that you do, or a similar vein to the licensing images that you do, and some of the other stuff as well.
This could easily be used on, the calendar, greeting cards. I've done the Azure Kingfisher on the mugs for Max Williams in the past.
Yeah, once again,
Yeah.
Obviously people being able to enjoy the work for what it is, or having just something part and parcel of something of Kath's. And actually, I've actually got her latest piece here, which is the original. She's got a bit of covering over it at the moment, but that's actually the original for her next series of mugs that she's actually putting out. It's scarlet honeyeaters,
That's right, yes.
which are just beautiful birds. You actually get them in the area that she lives in as well. Quite magnificent. You can see the detail in this particular piece. It's just wonderful. And also some of the other things. You've obviously done book covers as well. Being into the wildlife as you are, we've got this particular book here, and that is Coxon's Fig Parrot.
Yes, that was a painting I originally did for the Caldera Art Prize.
Okay.
And the publishers saw that and thought it was ideal, as it showed the fauna flora of the area.
Yeah, and I just saw the title Revenants of Gondwana, which was what the Australian continent used to be called before it split up from Pangaea, about 60 million years ago. And Kath also has, and this is really part of her licensing, she produces a number of I mean, she's quite beautiful cups as well that are sold really right across the world. She's got quite a big following in South America as well. If you look at these, this Superb Wren and the Major Mitchell, or the Pink Cockatoo, both beautiful pieces of work. Obviously these are collectibles for people, but you know, once again you can see that it's just not a matter of painting a picture and putting it on a gallery wall, that there are so many other things that you can do with the images that these artists produce, and these are just some great examples. And you can really start to see that little bird starting to come out of the picture. It looks just great. You can see those very, very fine lines that just hint of the feathers. And as you said, Kath, it's really just a suggestion of the feathers, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah, in the darker areas I won't do much at all.
Yeah.
And the light, you know, I might just have a patch of white rather than every individual feather.
Yes, I have seen people that wildlife artists that sort of paint them and they end up looking like they've got scales on them instead of feathers. So you've got to be quite careful in the way that you go about that. Particularly in very detailed work like this, you've really got to adjust your brush stroke and your light source all the time to build it to a place that you want. Unless you're doing, say, impressionistic type work where really there's just a line that goes down or a slash of colour from a spatula. This one you build it all the way through. Well, you can see now when you're continuing to put those layers on that it's really becoming quite smooth and there's a lot of depth in the background.
Yeah, that's what I'm aiming for, just to create a distant space and spaciness or something.
Just in that little corner there, it's just great. You can see the bird coming out more and the background going back further. Well, viewers, we've spent just a wonderful day with Kath, and as you can see, she's still in the process of putting this beautiful picture together of the azure kingfisher, which I think looks quite spectacular. And as you can see by the beauty of television, from this to obviously the finished product that you can see now, it's quite amazing what she's actually done. But Kath, I'd like to thank you very, very much for having us along today.
Yeah, thank you for coming.
It's been a pleasure. If you would like to see more of Kath's work, you can come into the website at colorinyourlife.com.au and see Kath's work. Kath, once again, as I said, is really part of what art licensing is all about as well. And you can come in and ask some questions about that, and obviously see Kath's work in the website. But it's been great. Thank you very much, Kath. See you next time. G'day viewers and welcome to Brisbane Art Expo. As you can see, it's been really successful. Now remember, we're off to Sydney in September the 21st to the 23rd. Now come along and see all of the artists, all of the great work that we've got here. There's workshops on, there's seminars, buy some art, talk to the artists. Come to Sydney, see you in September, you'll have a great time.
Mm-hmm.